Hello, this is Soundout here, and happy Valentine's Day. Today I'll be telling you a story of bravery, romance, swords, quotes. It's the Princess Bride action figures, Wave 1. It's morphin' time! So in doing this review, I held it off just to do it for a Valentine's Day special to tie into the romance theme, or to tie into the fact that my dad proposed to my mom with the quote, "Will you marry me?" So, you know, it's kind of got a tie to the family, and I thought, why not Valentine's Day? Especially since I thought this was going to be only one wave of figures. However, as I was working on this video, McFarlane Toys said, hey, we're making more. And we'll get back to that at the end of the video. So let's get to it. We have 4 figures to cover, and the first 3 are basic figures that were priced at $24.99, and then we have a mega fig with Fezzik, which is $39.99. And if I get a little too reference heavy, I apologize, but if I didn't, that would just be inconceivable. So we're going to move on and talk about the figures one by one, and we'll take a little tease at Wave 2 at the end of the video. But if you enjoyed this, please let me know in the comments and hit the like and subscribe button. That'll keep me doing more videos on the channel, and it'll let me know that you want to see a second video on the Princess Bride, maybe in the future. But without further ado, Wave 1, McFarlane Toys, Princess Bride, let's go. Our first figure is our dashing hero Wesley as the Dread Pirate Roberts, or the Man in Black, or whatever you want to call him. And I gotta say, the packaging for these figures is pretty nice. It looks very much like the Princess Bride, and I do like the character portraits on the back as being stills from the movie. Wesley here is dressed as the Dread Pirate Roberts, which means he's wearing a mask. And why does he wear the mask? Was he burned by acid or something? Oh no, it's just that the masks are terribly comfortable, and he thinks that everyone will be wearing them in the future. Okay, maybe this movie prophesized a little too much into our future. Overall, the likeness could be way better. The mask looks good, but the shadow on the face is just weird, and it kind of throws off the whole look, if I'm being honest. So taking a look at Dread Pirate Roberts here, let's look at his articulation, because McFarlane figures can get sort of strange, and that's what I mean when I say that it's kind of odd for movie-based figures, because they typically just do more superhero or video game characters. But with Dread Pirate Roberts here, he is very articulated. It's just very strange how he's articulated. So the head, kind of stiff, but it is a ball joint. You can get some slight tilt left and right, up and down. The shoulders move pretty good. They do have this covered butterfly shoulder. There is a slight bicep swivel, but it's really tight, so it's not really going to do anything. The elbows are a single joint, but they move more than 90 degrees, so that's fine. And then they pivot left and right, but it's, again, really tight. The hands pivot up and down, and they're also ball jointed, so they can kind of move around. Torso, it wiggles a little bit. Hips, we'll show on this one, goes out, goes forward, goes back. It rotates at the hip, so there's no thigh swivel. Double jointed knee, which is really stiff, but still, functions. Kind of a weird sculpting thing. This is where the sculpt stops, even though there's a gap there. So if you push the knee forward, it just looks like he broke his leg. There is that. And then also the ankles pivot forward and back. They move left and right, and then the toe joint moves as well. And this also whole thing can rotate if you so wish. So pretty good articulation overall. It's just kind of strangely designed, but it keeps the sculpt looking how the sculpt looks. Now, all 4 figures in Wave 1 came with the same exact stand, yes, even Fezzik, and it has the Princess Bride logo on the standard McFarlane black stand, and it helps the figure stand up, and I do appreciate that. Now, his sword can be stored in his sheath, but it's an incredibly tight fit, so be careful, especially with the sword being of a bendier, lighter material. You might want to take your time putting it into the sheath, as it's quite a tight fit. And then also, once it's in the sheath, it's very easy to have the handle kind of bent sideways, so honestly, probably just not worth using the sheath at all. His articulation does allow him to pose decently while holding the sword. Though I'm not sure why his arms won't move, but maybe it's because he's been mostly dead all day. As you wish, we have size comparisons. As you can see, next to a standard McFarlane Toys figure, such as the Mortal Kombat Noob Saibot, he is in that same 7-inch scale, but he doesn't look too out of place with a NECA Back to the Future figure, such as Doc Brown here, so it kind of can sort of blend in there. Also, Diamond Select has been doing some movie figures, so here he is next to Tron. Again, not too bad, they do fit in that larger 7-inch scale. But if you're looking for Ghostbusters or Marvel Legends, they aren't going to match. Hasbro stuff is just too small. Next up, we have Princess Buttercup Red Dress, which was the first time I thought, hey, there might be a second wave of these if they specifically named her Red Dress, because that isn't a quote from the movie, surprisingly. But, you know, it overall, same packaging style as Dread Pirate Roberts, everything you'd expect so far. Overall, the look of the figure is pretty good. I think that the red is a little bright, but honestly, doesn't look too bad overall as a figure. Unfortunately, the likeness, just like with Dread Pirate Roberts, is kind of terrible. It's just, I mean, the hair's there, but aside from that, not a very good likeness at all. All right, so with Princess Buttercup, I thought what was kind of cool about this is the fact that they sculpted the top part of the dress, so you get the arms and the chest with plastic, but then the rest of it is cloth. Usually when we see soft goods on action figures lately, it'll just be, you know, either full plastic where the legs are super restricted, or it'll be full cloth and so the arms look weird and baggy. So I think this is actually a pretty good compromise. I think overall, you know, the dress has still got a significant size to it and it allows the legs to move, but you're not losing the body proportion in the top part. So this is actually really, really cool, and other companies should take note. I like the way that this was executed here. Now, what's also interesting is her articulation isn't as restricted as I thought it would be, again, because of the dress. She has double jointed elbows, which compared to Wesley, who only have single jointed elbows, her double joints give her, you know, even more than 90 degrees and actually give her more range of movement than Wesley's does, which I think is kind of funny because typically in action figures, the women get less articulation than the men. But in this case, no, we actually got that, and her bicep swivel works a lot better. She does still have a ball jointed shoulder, and instead of having like a little cover cap, this actual top torso piece is an overlaid rubber. Head-wise, not a whole lot because of her hair, but it does turn and it does work well. And then also she's got some bend in the torso. Her wrists work just like Wesley, so they pivot in and out, up and down, rotate. And then we've got the legs. Now I'm going to just do this because she's wearing pants. It's all right. So you can see under here, if the camera can focus on all this red, a little tricky. Hips move out, move forward, move back. They swivel there at the hip. They have a double jointed knee, which is really, really articulated. Forward and back, left and right, up and down. Full range of movement on her. It's also interesting she has an open hand and a holding hand and an open hand, and that she doesn't have anything to hold. But I'm overall, outside of the weird head sculpt, really impressed with how they sculpted the dress and how they did this half and half look. And I'd like to see more of that in the future with dress-based action figures. And honestly, her posability is good, but there's really nothing for her to pose with on her own, no real accessories. And I don't really know if she has any iconic poses to have. That being said, she does make a nice companion to Wesley, and the two of them make a nice pair. And everything should be fine as long as they don't run into the ROUSs, which of course is rodents of unusual size, but I don't think they exist. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Of course, Inigo Montoya is in this line. I use such an iconic character with an iconic line. And, you know, hey, I'm glad to have him, even if there's some hiccups along the way. Costume-wise, the figure looks pretty good. Overall, just a very nice, you know, kind of sort of standard body design, but everything looks pretty good and in place. Likeness is probably the best out of all of them, I'd say. It looks the most like the character, except he's got that weird side eye going on that like all McFarlane figures are starting to get. All right, so with Inigo, I got to talk about this just in person. This is an issue that's been happening with a lot of McFarlane figures. It's the side eye. When you're looking at the figure dead on and they're looking to the side. It limits your posability on the shelf because instead of being able to pose the figure like this, or this, you have to pose him kind of facing this way because that's where he's looking. And with Inigo especially, his side eye is so intense to the side that it just looks awkward in almost every position. And even if you have him, you know, facing this direction, it still doesn't look quite right. I can't do anything about it besides point it out, and I hope that this is something that they're working on, because it's kind of been killing my buzz for the DC Multiverse line, because almost every figure has this side-eye thing going on, and I don't get it, and I don't want to line my figures up like this and have them still look awkward. I'd rather they just look straightforward, and then you can adjust the pose how you wish. But speaking of posing, head moves pretty good. You know, still a little restrictive left and right because of the hair, but he does turn like this, so that's good. Shoulders, they're ball jointed. This is a rubber overlay. Bicep swivel, much better than Wesley's. Double jointed elbows, unlike Wesley. The actual hands pivot, just like Wesley. Waist moves a bit. Hips move out, forward, back. They slightly turn. You get a double jointed knee, works pretty good. And then the ankle that goes forward, back, left, right, and the toe. It's mostly the same on all these figures for the legs. But yeah, that's side-eye. And Inigo does come with his sword, which is very warped out of the package. And unfortunately, he's only right-handed on the figure. He can't do the left-handed dueling that him and Wesley had done in the movie. And that also means with him looking to the left when his sword's to the right, he's constantly looking away from whoever he's trying to fight. It doesn't look too bad from this angle of the two swordsmen dueling each other, but it just looks weird from every other angle. So yeah, it's that side eye. Man, the side eye really kind of wrecks the whole look of the figure. Our last figure of Wave 1 is Fezzik, the big guy, Andre the Giant himself. And you know what? Pretty impressive size packaging. This is a huge, huge box for the figure, and I'm just really impressed that he gives him an overall size and scale compared to the others, especially since he's 40 compared to the normal 25 for the rest. Overall, costume-wise, the figure looks good. It matches the look of Fezzik from the movie, and, you know, I really don't think the articulation broke up the sculpt too badly, and he's incredibly detailed. Unfortunately, he has a combination of the problems that both Wesley and Inigo have, which is, well, he's got, you know, the likeness that kind of matches the actor better like Inigo, except he has side-eye. And then he sort of has the overspray of over-darkness on the face, in the eyes and on the mouth, that just looks really off from what it should be. All right, so let's look at Fezzik. Now, Fezzik is not as articulated as the others just due to his size. You know, it works for the figure because he is larger, but he is much more restrictive than the others. So he does have a head. He probably has the best head movement out of all of them, to be honest. It, you know, does a lot of side to side, not so much up or down. He's got outward shoulders that rotate, but no, you know, inner ball joint thing. He's got elbows that bend and rotate, wrists that bend in and out and rotate. Now, they are different wrists. I've noticed this is the DC Mega Figs as well, because he is a larger price point. They have this really strange looking wrist joint, and I don't get it, but that's just how they do it. And then we've got sort of a waist, but not really, hips that move out and move forward-ish, single jointed knees, but you know, they do a full 90, so that's good. And then he's got forward and back and left and right, ankle pivots and toes. He's a very stiff figure, more so than some of the others, but overall, he's solid. He's really, really solid. Anybody want a peanut? And of course, he comes with a rock, which surprisingly he can hold pretty well. I'm actually kind of impressed. Now, the only problem I have with Fezzik is he seems a little large. Andre the Giant was, well, huge, but I don't know if he was this big. He seems a little oversized, and also with Inigo's side-eye, it sort of is an issue. And it's inconceivable that Vizzini's not here, because it really feels like those are the three there. I know it's the main four characters, but, you know, that's kind of like the one character we're missing. And luckily, hey, he's going to be showing up in Wave 2. Having the four together here, they look pretty good. There is some weirdness with some of the faces. The overall body sculpts, I think, are fantastic. Get some new heads on these figures, and they'd probably be pretty amazing. It's just unfortunate that there is, you know, actor likeness problems with some of them, and then side-eye problems with others, and then that overspray of darkness on the faces is just, it's close. It's really close. But, you know, outside of the fact that these are probably the only Princess Bride figures we're getting, that's the best recommendation I can make on them. So that does it for the first wave. Wave 2 is going to be the same 4 characters again. Fezzik will come with a cloak. Inigo and Dread Pirate Robert's Wesley are going to be with, you know, bloody effects. It's kind of strange, but at least Inigo doesn't have side-eye anymore. Princess Buttercup will be in her blue dress, and we will finally get Vizzini. So it's moving along. I don't know if there will be a third wave, or if anything beyond that. And I'm not even sure if I'm going to pick up everybody from Wave 2 since it's mostly repeats, but I'm definitely going to get Vizzini. So, like I said earlier, if you want to see me review more Princess Bride figures, let me know, because this is kind of a weird subject, and I'm totally throwing this video out there, mostly to find out if anyone likes this type of video or figures from this line, and we will see, because I don't know yet. We'll find out if this was a giant flop or a wonderful miracle. And on that note, that does it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, also check out Hero Club at hero-club.com for movie news and more, and my awesome graphic designer on Twitter at darkclaw643. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.